Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Shirley, and it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you join us today. We have an exciting and informative session ahead, and we are so grateful for everyone attending today. Muriel, we can go to the next one. So just a quick spiel, but here at Cendien, we specialize in providing comprehensive services and solutions. And as Infor partners, we offer managed services and assistance across various domains, including implementations, integrations, development, training, and more. And we extend our services beyond just Infor, and we also serve as Microsoft partners. So that allows us to provide a wide range of IT services, which allows us to offer a holistic approach to your technological needs. Next slide. So today's webinar focuses on Configuration Console and LPL. And our presenter today will be Muriel. She's one of our system administrators here at Cendien, and she will guide us through Configuration Console and LPL Code today. And we've structured the session to ensure clarity and understanding. And with any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A up top whenever you have a question, and those will be answered at the end. So any questions, feel free to pop those in. And then without further ado, I will hand it over to Muriel.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Muriel Peñafuerte, Senior Infor Consultant at Cendien. For today's webinar, we are going to talk about the LPL Viewer of the Infor CloudSuite Web Configuration Console. To give some context on why this topic is relevant, we know that Configuration Console is a user interface to delete, to add, modify configuration. So generally, it's used for look and feel changes. But understanding how to use the LPL Viewer when we need it will be a huge advantage in developing or evaluating complex configuration or even troubleshooting that you may have. So let's start with what we are going to cover for today. So the agenda would be first, what is LPL? We are going to have an overview of the LPL landmark pattern language. Next, we are going to define the function, purpose, and benefits of the LPL viewer. And for demonstration, we are going to navigate the LPL code using the Web Configuration Console's LPL viewer. And lastly, for the Q&A portion. Okay, let's dive in. What is LPL? LPL stands for Landmark Pattern Language. It is the language that many of our source files in Landmark applications are written in, such as those for business classes and user interface objects. Within the LPL code, we find source components that defines a business object. It describes the logical representation of a data structure, data and business object life cycles, business transaction processing logic, and or what we call the business logic, and the user interactions with data and objects. So basically, those are the user interfaces. When you look at the LPL code, it describes the application component in the way that we understand through business patterns, definitions, and business objects. And where can we find the LPL code? Fortunately, the LPL code is available under the menu structure of the Web Configuration Console through the LPL Viewer. By effectively navigating this tool, it will give us a better understanding of the business process and data perspective of the Infor delivered landmark applications. And how do we access LPL Viewer? First, we have to log into the system and then choose either FSM or HR. Then we select Configuration Console, and then let's go to the LPL Viewer. And to illustrate that, let's go directly to our demo environment to explore this tool. So what I'm showing now is Infor, and we are going to the navigation menu. And for today's session, we are going to choose HR. And let's wait for it to load. Any second now, it should be showing up. Okay. So let's go to the configuration console. And then you find the LPL Viewer right in the middle. Let's click on that. So once everything is loaded, so this is basically the LPL viewer. As you can see, there are 8 search options that we can choose from. The first is the business view, or this is about the business classes. Next would be the list, forms, card views, pages, menus, web applications, and type fields. We will go through each tab one by one in a bit, but let's start with the business view. So first off, let's start with, say, for example, we want to research or look into employee allowance, and then hit search or enter. As you can see, it will give us employee everything, any business class that contains employee allowance. But for today, we are going to look at the employee allowance. Right here in the middle in the middle, there's the business logic tab for the data processing, transactions, data structure. And next would be the user interface. It would give us like the navigations, list, forms, and card views. So let's go back here to the business logic. Okay, by the way, before we go there, you see this space right here to the right. This is the quick scroll. It will give you like a bird's eye view of the entire LPL code. It's very it's a good feature because you can browse quickly here and move you to play to the lines. Because normally, or sometimes, the business classes can contain hundreds, if not thousands, lines of code. For in this case, employee allowance is only 882. But say, for example, just to show you how the codes would be like for 1,000 lines of codes. Let's go to, we know employee can be complex. Employee business class. And let's drill, let's give it 100 and for employee. So let's wait for it to load. So just to see how long this code for for the employee business class, as you can see, there's like 93,000 lines of codes, and that's only for the business logic. And when we look for the user interface, it got about like 73,000 lines of code. But we don't want the employee for today. Let's go back to employee allowance. Okay. You can use this, or let's go to commands and fold all. When you fold all, and then you can see these three dots or ellipses here, you can expand that, and that's for the user interface. But let's go back to the business logic where we want to see the structure of the LPL code for the business logic. And then let's collapse it again or drill it again. You will see the sections for the employee allowance. Here you will see the block for the persistent fields, field groups, local fields, rule blocks, and all those kinds of sections that's in the LPL code for business employee allowance. Like, for example, derived fields, conditions, relations, and actions. These are like normally the objects that we configure, right? So let's start off with the persistent fields. Say, for example, we want to search something that we saw in like ISD query or in IPA that we want to research on. There's a field that we're not sure, but we want to use it, and then we want to use it, but we don't know it. We go here and search for that. Say, for example, in a persistent field, and there's ellipses here, so let's drill and look into this. Say, for example, we want what is allowance amount. So we know that allowance amount is a currency amount, and it has this definition of precision about its number of decimals. So that's how we read it for what is the definition of the employee allowance. And aside from that, let's put this up again so it's not that cluttered. Let's look for the derived field. Normally, when we do like configuration, some requirements that we are required to, or we are asked to do user field creation, or asked to create user field, we normally go look into the delivered or derived field first before we start from scratch, because maybe there's already an existing one that we can use. So say, for example, this employee allowance has this derived field, and let's look, for example, what is weekly annual allowance amount is, or what does it return. So here again, there's an ellipsis here, so we can collapse, and then if you can see here, the definition of this field returns an allowance amount times 52. So it's a product of allowance amount and 52. So that's for the weekly allowance. How about we look at the other fields like monthly annual allowance amount. So let's look at this one. So it's basically the same, but different multiplier. So let's go drill and drill until we find something interesting. How about here? Override annual allowance amount. What does this mean? Okay, so if you can see here, the definition, it returns a certain value when the pay frequency override is weekly. What will it return? It returns this, the product of this one. Or if you go deeper and deeper, those would be the expected or the values that it will return based on the conditions. So that would be for the derived field. Okay, next we go to the conditions. Conditions, like there's only one condition field here, and that is current. If we're gonna look here, condition is current corporate date within date range. So it returns true or false when this value here is evaluated. So if today's date is within date range, it will return true. Next, we looked at relations. Here we use this very often in our configurations. Well, when we do our configurations and look for relations or joins to the other business classes, we look here first. We go to the LPL viewer and search for any existing joins instead of creating another, new user relation. And normally for an Infor naming convention, we know that what the joins or the relation is for by looking at the name. So it's usually employee, if it begins or it contains relation contains the business class it's joining to. Say, for example, employee allowance exports, that we know that the employee allowance export trail is joining with the employee allowance exports. So let's see to verify that. So see this one, this relation is joining one-to-many relation to employee allowance export. And it will give that relation if this criteria exists. And let's look at other relation here. Work assignment as of date. So we know that this relationship or relation is joining employee allowance and work assignment by just looking at the name. So it has one-to-one relation to work assignment with the following criteria. Okay, and that would be for the relation. Or say, for example, we want to search on or look into a specific type of action. Let's go to this rule, to this section action. For employee allowance, there are several actions available that we can look into. For example, calculate allowance payout. Say if we're having like issue with this particular action and we want to troubleshoot it, we go to a LPL Viewer and check what are the what are the information that we can get here to give us insight where the issue is coming from. Say, for example, that is the case. So it has parameters. So let's drill into the parameters, local fields, parameter rules. So what are the rules for the parameters? Then the filters, instance selection, and then the actions rules. So since calculate allowance payout is a set action, meaning it's a group, it's an action for a certain group. So let's see what's inside this instance rule. So for each record, it's processing, it's checking like this condition. Then let's drill some more. Okay, so that's where we find it invokes, meaning it triggers create from another business class. So it creates an employee allowance payout, which is what the action is in the name, right? It calculates the allowance payout. That's how we looked at the LPL viewer in terms of doing some research. But if this one is too like, if this is too overwhelming, or if we have a specific, like if we have a specific code that we want to look at, we can use this search option here. Like for example, what we were just looking at a while ago is calculate allowance payout. So it can direct us to this specific um, word that we just typed in here in the search box. Or another way is we go here to employee allowance and then right click, and then there's a drill around feature wherein you can view by actions, card views, charts, fields, forms, list, relations, and work files. Let's look at the fields. When we click here, you will see it will give us a different orientation, like in a list view. Unlike in the other one, it's like in the editor view, right? But it contains all the fields for the employee allowance. So this was the one that we were looking at a while ago, the allowance percent. And when we open it, so this would be the information about the allowance percent. Okay, let's go back. Go back again. So if we want to again search individually, aside from doing that, we can use this one on the tabs here by list. So we know that list, forms, card views are user interfaces or user interface or UI. So let's go back here to list and say, for example, we want to search for the primary list or the default list of a certain business class. But this one will give us everything, all the primary list of all the business classes. But let's refine. Say, for example, we just want the employee. See, for the employee business class with primary list, it gives us just 3 primary lists. That goes the same with forms, card views, pages, or if you have specific page that you want to look at, or menus, you go here and search for that menu, or web applications. Okay, before we go to this, the last tab, which is the type field, let's go back to the business class. Go to employee. Okay. So we know that in the data structure or the data definition, it's straightforward, right? That we know that for presentation name snapshot, it is an alpha with size 230. But there are others like this one, person name. W- We don't know what that is, right? Because what does it give us? So in order to look for that, that actually is a type field. But before we go here, let's look at what is that person name here in the drill around field. Let's go to name. Okay. So we know that the name is a persistent type with a group field. So that's the representation of that person name. So when we go here, go back to our LPL viewer, person name, we go to type field and look for person name. So what does it contain? Person name is a group field for the names. So see here, it's represented by a group of fields that contains a form of address, given name, preferred given name, and all those and everything here, like middle name, prefix, family name, and all that. And it's the same as what we have here in the business view. It can give you information, more information when you fold it all. And then the patterns, derived fields, even in a type field, it will have the same like patterns or structure or sections. Like derived fields within this group has a derived field as well. And it has even a lot. Okay, that's about it for the LPL viewer. Let's see if there's anything more before I move the floor to Shirley for question and answer. Okay, the web application here, the web, I forgot to mention, the web application would be here. Anything that you see here would be the web application's user interface. Say, for example, the employee. So that's where you go to the LPL viewer and look for what's the web application for employee. That's basically how you use it. Let's try it. Try to search for what is the web application of the employee self. Okay, so this one. For the employee, this is the web application for the employee self-service web app. See this code here? If you need some like troubleshooting that you want to do, or you want to pinpoint where the issue is coming from, we go to LPL viewer. And so that ends our overview of the LPL viewer. I'm gonna give the floor back to Shirley for any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Muriel. Are you able to go back to the PowerPoint?
Okay, sure.
Wonderful. And let's go. Yep. So we have one question. And if anyone has any others, feel free to put them in. But the question is there a way to export the code?
Yep, definitely. There's a way to export that. If you want, I'm gonna go back to here and just show you. Okay, so here, say for example, we go here to employee. We know that this is a lot of code, right? You can do actually just copy and paste and put it like in Notepad. But one tricky way, or like a tip to export if you want to get all the fields is to go by here, drill around, then view by fields. Let's remove this search. So since this is employee, it will have like thousands of business fields or fields, right? So what you can do is here and then export to, if you want, in PDF or in Excel or CSV file. So that's one way, or you can do a copy and paste somewhere of the code.
Okay. And then the other question is there any official Infor documentation out there?
Yep, there is actually. That's a good question, Shirley. Let's go here and I'll just show where that document or it's in docs. Okay, so let's go to platform, landmark technology. So this one, library. And then for the LPL viewer is under developer, configuration console for the web. And then under configuration console functions, you will see using the LPL viewer.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think for now that concludes all of our questions, unless someone else. Oh, I think a question just came through. Yes. Another one. Is there a way to calculate a date field based on another date? Example, other date 1, 30 days from start date.
Can you repeat that question again?
Yes. Is there a way to calculate a date field based on another date?
Yes, actually, you can do that based on another date. What you can do is create a user field with a date or a derived field, actually. And one way, actually, for those questions, like, is there a way to like create something like that? This one would be helpful by looking at the field and copy like the logic or the definition. So say, for example, if that is specific to a date, um, probably there's something like that here. So if you fold all and then let's look at the right field. I'm just showing how to like go there because we cannot, do the exact thing, right? So if you want to know like a date, say, let's see here, current date format. Let's see what it says here. You see this line here? It's not like what's being asked, but we can do something like this in the configuration console. Create a field or a derived field from another date.
Okay. And
Hopefully
then,
that answers the question.
yes, please let us know if there's any further questions or anything that we want Muriel to expand on. Other than that, I don't see any other questions, but we'll give them like a few minutes.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, Muriel, we can go back to the PowerPoint
Okay, sure.
and then let's go to the next slide. All right. So if there's no other questions or if you guys have any questions down the line, feel free to reach out to us either via this QR code here or write to us at support@cendien.com. We would like to hear anybody's feedback or any future sessions that you guys would like to see. So if there's no other questions, I would like to thank everyone for attending. If you have any questions relating to Infor modules, processes, or IT service assistance, please feel free to reach out to us. But if that's all for today, we would like to thank everyone for joining us. So have a great rest of your day, everyone. And thank you so much, Muriel, for the session.